the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to episode 152 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Beckson. Today, we're going to be talking to Anna Brenes. Anna works in the office here with us. We're getting quite a few requests here to cover stuff on safety and relocation and buying versus renting. So I thought I'd cover it in a relocation and living podcast with Anna. She's an expert, has taken quite a few of you out and helped you find what it is that you're looking here. Relocate here, invest here, purchase property. So she's a great resource here. So we're going to be talking with her about some of the frequently asked questions, gated communities, schooling, buying versus renting, activities, after school activities, good areas for families, good areas for kind of retirees. So we'll kind of have quite a wide variety of things there. Remember, you can reach out to us. info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com with anything basically investing, purchasing real estate. We just analyzed over 4,000 vacation rentals here in Costa Rica, and I actually just got a list. I actually just got access to all vacation rentals in Costa Rica. So I can pull all data, revenue, occupancy, etc. So very, very interesting there. And any project that you have here in Costa Rica, we've got about 27 projects, I think, going on at the moment. Everything from helping people basically remodel to develop homes. We have a team of engineers and project managers here. So we just really kind of hold your hand through the whole process. So feel free to reach out to us, info@investingcostarica.com. But let's get straight into the podcast. Good afternoon, Anna. How are you doing?
Hi, Richard. Very happy to be here with you.
Well, this is a little bit weird, right? We work together, as I've mentioned on the introduction, and I just thought it would be great to kind of get you on here. You specialize in relocation, and I think there's a lot of people looking to relocate to Costa Rica, a lot of questions. So I thought, who better than to do a podcast on relocating to Costa Rica and answering those frequently asked questions than you?
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Anna, what are you currently seeing happening in Costa Rica? Let's focus on, relocation. I mean, what are you seeing? Are you seeing, more people relocating to Costa Rica, or is it quieting down, post-pandemic? I mean, and what do you think is going to be happening going forwards?
Well, Richard, I think that relocation has grown actually quite a bit. I think it has to do with the fact that after the pandemic, everybody just realized that quality of life was so important. And instead of waiting until they retired to live the life that they've always dreamed of, they've decided to take the step, much earlier, much sooner, and bring the family, like the kids, the small kids, and have them, grow up in a place where the weather is beautiful and just contact with nature. So I also think that, the fact that, the world is just going through some difficult
Craziness.
times,
Yep.
really also attracts people to relocate to Costa Rica because of the stability that we enjoy and the safety, of course.
Well, we'll touch on safety a little later on, as I know that's kind of a frequently asked question. But I mean, who are you seeing relocating to Costa Rica at the moment, Anna? Are you seeing, because it used to be a lot of kind of more retirees. Are you still seeing that? Are you seeing more people with younger families, with older kids? I mean, who are you seeing relocating currently to Costa Rica?
Well, my experience lately has been with families that have kids either in elementary, younger than 10, let's say, and then some of the kids are also teenagers going to middle school. And yeah, that's surprising because it means that the parents, mostly the father, will travel sometimes and continue working from Costa Rica, online, but will have to go to the US or Canada. And the mom usually stays here, or they swap.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's a big deal for them to be able for their kids to grow up in a country where the food is so fresh and where the weather is beautiful, and they will be exposed to new experiences. So that is the majority of what I'm looking at right now in relocation, but also the older folks are also continuing to move down, looking for, just a beautiful area. in their 60s is more than 70s, which I think used to be before.
Yep.
We used to get an older population moving down, and I think that now it's more like early 60s. It's what I'm seeing. Just
Yeah.
people who want to enjoy their life.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think that's exactly what I'm seeing as well. I mean, we see the same stuff, but just being out there is, there's younger families where parents just want to give their children just a different quality of upbringing. To an extent, a lot of people are looking for what they had when they were kids.
Exactly.
With that freedom to be able to kids to be able to roam, to be able to be safe, to eat healthy, not being, having to eat, space food, as I call it. And again, I mean, we continue to see expats kind of retiring down here, or at least semi-retiring. A lot of people are actually looking to actually still work, and live down here as well, kind of more the digital nomad remote workers as well. So it's kind of nice that we're getting that, that mix.
Absolutely.
You touched on schooling there, Anna. I mean, that's usually a big concern that people have down here of like, look, I mean, what is schooling like? What are my options available? In what areas? I mean, I remember when I first came here to Costa Rica, 20 odd years ago. I mean, I don't think that there was that many private schools in the beach locations. But I mean, what are the options available to people? And should it be something that they should be worried about?
Not at all. Because the expat communities in the coastal areas have grown so much. Of course, schooling options have grown as well. We have international private schools, at minimum 5 per community, but of course the Northern Pacific area has even more so.
Yep.
And schooling with very different sort of focus. Some are very individual, some are not as structured, and some are just IB, international bachelor's degrees. So they're very structured. But of course, set in beautiful, natural, locations. And I think that any family who wants to move down will be able to find the right school for their kids. And it's very impressive to see like the wide variety that we have now offering. Of course, there's also the other great thing is that the schools are offering transportation. So the kids, there are buses that are from the school, private buses. And the kids are picked up at home and taken to school and then returned home and in a very safe manner. And so, it's just amazing. There's also, the schools also have other, after school activities like sports and art and music and all kinds of activities that are amazing for the kids. And so parents are very excited when they come down and they meet, they go and they see the school and they're like amazed at the quality.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we have those after school activities that you don't typically get, like surfing and sailing, and those we have the regular ones. Yeah, there's
sure.
You have the typical ones: swimming, soccer, kind of baseball, ballet, those kind of ones. But there's some interesting. Actually, I think even there's pole dancing for kids in the Jaco area in the Central Pacific area as well, which is kind of a little odd. But anyway, I'll get off that topic. But yeah, I mean, it's just it really is. I mean, schooling has completely changed here. I mean, what's kind of like, would you say the average price per kid is? I mean, I'm sure it varies from school to school, but I mean, if someone was to ask you the average price, what would you say per child?
Per year, it's about, between $5,500 and about $8,000 per year per kid. And this is, absolutely the highest quality schooling. I mean, really, it's wonderful. They eat in some of the schools, they eat lunch at school, and they actually harvest it themselves. They have their own greenhouses. It's great.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, very different than when I know I grew up. We didn't do any of that at school. So and school dinners weren't that fresh.
Absolutely. The other great thing, Richard, is that they are also offering other languages, not just English and Spanish, but they're also learning other languages. Some of the schools offer French, and some of them even offer Mandarin. So this is just something that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
very exciting.
Well, I mean, it's interesting just because you kind of think about it of like, okay, I mean, if you do bring up kids in this country, they will be duolingual. I mean, they will speak English and they will also speak Spanish. I mean, you've basically got a big chunk of the world covered with those two languages. Well, especially this continent.
Absolutely,
No.
absolutely. And
Oh, yeah.
we are very bilingual here in Costa Rica because we are so close to America. So it's so easy for the kids to grow up, as in this environment. They will
Yeah.
become completely fluent in Spanish in a way that they will be able to use the slang as much as they use it in English. So that is so fun. I think it's great.
I mean, it's really weird when you see like where their parents are from the States or from Canada or from Europe or wherever, and they're speaking one language and they switch into Spanish, and like it's Costa Rican Spanish with a Costa Rican accent. Like you would never know the difference. It's incredible.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
It's very fun. And I think that just the the chip that activates in them to be able to do that, to do
yep.
this, it will change their whole life, their access to their perspective. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, you mentioned something there about, a lot of people in Costa Rica speaking English. I mean, do you need to speak Spanish to kind of relocate to Costa Rica?
Well, not really. Actually, the coastal areas where the expats mostly, relocate to are beaming with, like I said, an expat community that is very prominent. And so um, they will meet a lot of people, English speakers, of course, mother's tongue, but also they will start to interact with Costa Ricans uh, because of all the different services that they will, be close to. And uh, slowly you will learn Spanish. Of course, taking classes would be great. But in the coastal areas, everybody, I mean, I would say 90%, I don't want to say everybody, but 90% of the people will speak some English, will be
Yep.
able to communicate and help you with whatever you need.
It's pretty crazy how Costa Ricans, like, if they know a little bit of English, love to speak it with you. Like, it's difficult for me sometimes to speak in Spanish. Like, they want to speak English with me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, let's just do this in Spanish. Like, it's so,
Yeah. Even if the pronunciation is not right on, they will go for it.
yeah,
That's for
which
sure.
is great to see.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I mean, you'd mentioned the coastal areas. I mean, what about the Central Valley? Because a lot of people like the Central Valley just from the infrastructure, closeness to the airport. Again, just its multitude of schools. I mean, there is a lot of schools here in the Central Valley, and we're talking here kind of around San Jose, its suburbs. I mean, what about English speaking in those areas?
Okay, so in San Jose, almost, I would say, let's say 70% of the people will speak English, the
Yep.
people that you will bump into. Amazing quality international bilingual schools. Like I went to a private school since I was a little girl, and that just changed my whole life because I can think in English. It just became something completely natural for me. And it took many years, and it was just a daily thing. And that will help you become this amazing, it helps your mind just adapt so quickly.
Yeah.
San Jose has grown to the west. So this is where the suburbs have developed towards. And so most of the private bilingual schools have moved to the west. And as time goes by, they move more and more to the west.
Okay.
So for example, Country Day School, which is one of the favorite for expats. Country Day used to be in Escazú downtown, which was like the first town west of San Jose downtown where the sort of the city grew towards. Um, and then they eventually had to move to La Guasima, which is further west, because they needed more space and better facilities. And of course, the school just kept on growing. So it's just an amazing array of schools for different budgets. Also, it's a little bit more expensive here than at the beach, I have to confess.
Well, it depends on
Um,
the school because I mean, look, I've got my kids in school. I think I pay about, $500 a month for each of them.
Oh yeah, but I pay more for my
Yeah.
daughter. She's in high school. I pay around $850 per
Yeah.
month for my
Yeah.
daughter. But she speaks French, I mean a little bit of French, Mandarin, and English and Spanish, right? I mean, and the academic level is very high. So anyway, as I was saying, there is now, so Country Day, as I was saying, Country Day actually moved into a gated community out west in La Guasima. So
Yeah.
imagine that. I mean, amazing ease for a family who wants to move, relocate, move inside that gated community. The kids can just walk to school or bike to school. You know, just super safe. I mean, the safety standards for the gated communities is super high. Santa Ana, I would say Santa Ana and La Guasima are still greener than Escazú just because they started to develop later. But yeah, most families now live closer to the school.
Well, I mean, look, a lot of families are moving here. I think one of the big concerns that people have is community. Like, will my kids find friends? Will I find friends? There are things to do, you know? And I, you know, typically say to people, like, don't worry about it. I mean, everybody is here looking for community and it kind of develops. But I mean, what's your viewpoint on that?
I think that families, Costa Rica in general is a very family-oriented country. So when your kids go to a certain school, you know, you will see that all the moms and dads are, you know, they have a WhatsApp chat. They're always together, and they get together for certain activities, and the kids go to soccer together, and then they have soccer games or whatever it is. It's going to be very easy to make friends. Costa Ricans are very kind and very open, and they will always, you know, smile and just sort of be open. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like an idiosyncrasy of Costa Ricans that we're just so warm and friendly. And just by the kids being in school, they will make friends immediately. I mean, of course, all the kids, even if you have an 8-year-old, they will come into a bilingual school, and the Costa Rican kids will be almost fluent in English by then.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like my daughter at 9 was completely fluent in English. Like
Wow.
she would make a little bit of mistakes, but they will communicate perfectly with a kid, you know, with any kid at that age. So it's very cool. And I think that also, I mean, you have to have a certain attitude of saying, okay, I'm going to be more open, and I'm going to go out there and like make friends, and maybe have organized play dates at my house and invite some kids, and, you know, get to meet the moms. That's how it is. Now, for older people in Atenas, you know, areas that are more like grown up, you know, for retirees. For example, Atenas is a great example. It's a huge community. It's like 2,500 people living there most of the year. And they have all sorts of fun, like card games. You know, there are groups of people who just go to the same restaurant, like on Tuesdays for lunch, or, you know, they play poker, or it's just amazing how organized they are, because they have been there for a long time too.
Yeah.
I know I heard the other day, I was in the area, and somebody said, oh, no. If you don't have anything to do and you just go to La Cope. I'm like, okay. So La Cope Atenas is a place where there's a lot of things going on. There's a great cafeteria, you know, like a great coffee shop there where you can have lunch. And so even if you're just alone, you just go to La Cope, you'll bump into somebody.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone was probably anyone that's looking to move down here, someone was in those shoes at one point. So I think everyone that's here just underneath, like, knows that, like, look, we're going to help those people out when they first come here, because I would have loved to help, you know, that person out. I would love to have had that help when I first came here. So yeah. And you mentioned there are all those WhatsApp groups. I mean, there are groups, you know, from all the people up in Mar Vista, the community groups, school groups, like, and from that peel off all these mountain biking groups and sailing groups, and like, yeah, anyway. So yeah, you don't need to worry about community. You'll have more friends than you know what to do with by the yeah.
I also think that there's a huge element that is just the ease, you know, that pura vida style that we have, that is just really, you know, relaxed, you know, our lifestyle, you know, it's just, we're not in a rush, especially in the coastal areas. So it's really not necessary to you know, it's just, everybody's just in that sort of relaxed state, and that makes a big difference when you're
you don't need to plan everything.
A
lot of it happens organically.
Exactly. It's just a simple life. I don't know if that's how you would call it, but it's a simple life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, you know, we get quite a few questions about, let's just kind of jump back to kids here. I mean, we're jumping between families and, you know, I would say more kind of retirees, 60 plus. Activities for kids. A lot of people ask about baseball and soccer and dance and those kind of things. I mean, we covered some stuff that there's like different activities, surfing and sailing and those kind of things. But are all those things available? To kids? Will they still be able to continue to do them when they move down here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, San Jose has, of course, the Central Valley surrounding areas have tons of activities,
Yep.
gyms and ballet and dance schools and all kinds. But surprisingly now you can find a lot of, activities for kids such as those in the coastal areas.
Yep.
Just because there's a huge amount of families moving down. So of course the services that are needed start to develop, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you and I were talking about, like if there's something, an activity or a class that you don't find, well, maybe you need to start it. Maybe that's your business, right? But it's very difficult to say, oh, I want my kid wants to go to tap dance. I'm sure that you will find a tap dance class anywhere.
I mean, my kids are in jiu-jitsu, swimming, tela. I don't even know how to say that in English. Like the kind of acrobats on these like fabric things.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even too sure. There's probably a word for that.
Las telas. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They're hanging on pieces of cloth.
Yep.
Doing
spinning
that
around and exactly.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Well, a lot of people, when they first move down here, are always thinking, do I buy? Do I rent? I mean, what's your advice to people when they first come down?
Well, it depends. It depends because if this is a family who has visited Costa Rica before and they experienced it, and they know what it feels like and they have an idea what it's like, then sometimes they are ready. They've been doing their research and sometimes they are ready to just come down and buy a place and just move, and then just start living the experience. Some people who have never been here, but they are really very attracted to Costa Rica, they have been doing their research, decide to rent at first. And then, after a year, and they know it. I mean, they tell me, we're thinking about it, but we think we're going to move down, rent for a year, and then we're going to buy. Once we know that we really like the area, or maybe we see other areas that we like better, then we'll make a decision.
I mean, how much do you think people are looking at for rent on a 3-bedroom home? Let's say the Northern Guanacaste, Tamarindo de Flamingo, versus, I don't know, maybe Uvita versus the Central Valley. I mean, how much do you think a 3-bedroom home would rent for there?
Well, really what I see all around is between 2,500 and 3,500 for a nice 3-bedroom house. And this could be also an apartment. I just think that is sort of where we are. If you want a pool, then that might be a little bit, more rent.
Yeah.
But at the beach, there's, there are pools in the gated communities, and even here in San Jose, almost every gated community has a pool. So you don't need to have like a pool in your house to be able to enjoy a pool every day.
Yeah.
Because of course, I mean, the weather is nice, so it's always apt for pool day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, that's about it. If you want something really, really nice, I would say between 3,500 and 5,000 for like a 4-bedroom, maybe a pool in the house and like modern contemporary house, brand new. That's kind of around.
Okay. A lot of people ask about gated communities versus non-gated communities. What's your viewpoint on that, or what's your advice to people?
Well, I think that gated coming, when you first come to Costa Rica, staying in a gated community is better for you. It's going to be easier to make friends because you're in a enclosed space, so they're going to be right there and you're going to be able to meet them easier. And also it's safer. The kids can just, meet the other kids, ride the bike. But also I think that this will allow you to get slow by, step by step, sort of getting to know the area.
Yeah.
Some people who, like I said, have been to Costa Rica more than once, they know the place. They actually feel very comfortable living outside of a gated community, such as the case as Potrero in Guanacaste, very close to Flamingo, actually is, I mean, very, very much sought after because they like to be close to the community. They can just walk outside and, in a block be talking to their Costa Rican neighbors.
Yeah.
right? It's a very different experience. They are very, very close to the community.
Yeah, it sounds like Nosada. I think Nosada is very much similar to Costa with regards to a subdivide. You know, Santa Teresa is completely different. It's just a long stretch with, you know, homes up in the mountains or homes down on the beach. You know, and then again, Manuel Antonio, you know, I don't know whether Manuel Antonio is probably, you know, I don't usually advise people to live in Manuel Antonio. Like I wouldn't advise people to live in Tamarindo because they're just tourist, you know, areas. It'd be like living in Las Vegas downtown or, yeah, living on the North Shore, like, you know, in these, you know, in Atlantic City or something. You just don't, you know, you just don't typically like that, you know.
Exactly. And that's something that once you're here and once you're living inside a gated community, you can then sort of appreciate what the reality is out there in the city. And you can say, okay, I'm just going to go out to a restaurant for dinner, come back and leave the kids here, you know, or, you know what I mean? There's all sorts of, you know, you start to really assess the reality of the area that you're in. So,
I mean, how safe is Costa Rica? A lot of people ask that, you know, they're like, hey, you know, do I need to be worried? You know, are people going to break into my house? I mean, how would you describe the safety situation, security situation in Costa Rica?
I think that Costa Rica, you know, I think it's super safe. I feel very safe here. But, you know, there is opportunistic crime. If you leave something outside, it will be taken immediately. You know, it's not like you can just leave your car open anywhere. Inside my gated community, yes. Inside the gated community, I get out of the car into my house and no problem. But if you're outside, you know, you tend to lock your doors and you know, and just be aware of your surroundings, I think. But it's all about opportunistic and not planned like a criminal, you know, net of a network of people trying to figure out how to do you harm, right? That's just not how it is.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, I've lived here for 19 years. We're going on 19 years now. I have two girls. I always feel safe in this country. You know, you got to keep your wits about you anywhere. But again, is that like you have to understand you know, Costa Rica's a pretty chill. Like if there's an opportunity, yeah, but if there's not, like they just go on. So, you know, you just need to, you know, just have common sense. But you know, you don't hear of crazy stuff happening. I mean, every so often, but really not. I mean, comparatively to the rest of the world, I mean, I always say to people here, the news is boring. I mean, they report car crashes on the news, for God's sake.
That's true. It rained a lot this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they report. Like, there really isn't that much to talk about. You know?
That's true. That's true.
But yeah. I mean, my last question for you is, you know, which is the question I love to ask everyone, Anna. I think this information for people looking to relocate to Costa Rica has been great because there's some of the frequently asked questions there. You know, is if you inherited $500,000 and had to invest it into a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you do with it and why?
I think I would definitely buy a lot and build, you know, a few little apartments for people who, you know, middle class, who work in the coastal areas and provide services, you know, for that area. I think that they are really struggling right now because it's expensive or because it's out of their reach. And they don't want to live far away. So I think that I would definitely do that and just, you know,
long-term rentals?
I'm sorry?
Long-term rentals?
Yeah, and contribute to the community because I think that this is something that would really make their life easier, would give me profit also. I mean, of course, it's a business, and not that it's a business, but it's a venture that I would really like to go into and it would feel to me like I'm really helping the community in some way, and also providing, you know, a really good place to live and quality of life to those who also work in the area.
You can still make good returns on that. I mean, I've done the numbers on it just because I've always been interested and there's tons of demands. I mean, you can make between 8 to 12% depending on, you know, where the land is. I mean, it really comes down to the price of land because the cost to build is kind of pretty much the same. Well, and also what you're building as well. I mean, prefab stuff is a lot cheaper than like actual concrete construction if you do a light design, you know, so there is a magic formula in there that gets you, you know, to that 8 to 12% because I know a lot of people are looking for that, you know, 10% plus. So there is kind of a formula there that does work. But I agree. I mean, there's always going to be demand for more long-term rentals here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Anna, this has been great. Great information here. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and really just sharing this knowledge. I'll put all your contact details in the description so that anyone wants to reach out to you, they can. But really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Richard. It was a pleasure.
No worries. See you later.
See you later.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed that podcast there with Anna, guys. As you can see there, moving to Costa Rica is not as difficult as it used to be, especially with all the schooling, and all of just the availability of properties as well to purchase and also to rent. It's just a different world than it was and gets easier and easier. And we're starting to really see families kind of relocate down here. And I would say younger retirees as well, people in their 50s and 60s. It's just a great quality of life that we have here. I've been here for many, many years. I have no intention of ever leaving. It's just an amazing place to bring up a family, but also just to live as well. The sun shines, it's the afternoon here, about 2:30 in the afternoon, and the sun is still shining in our green season where we get a bit of rain in the afternoon. So, but just some quality information there from Anna, on just really living in Costa Rica, what it's like to live here, especially with kids, or whether you're retiring here, finding community activities. I think you've got to get down here and really see it. If you haven't been down here before, plan a trip. Feel free to reach out to us as well, and we can kind of show you around and give you an idea of what's going on, show you some properties, and just give you perception so that you can make an informed decision, whatever that may be. Remember, you can email us info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. Till the next podcast, guys, if you've enjoyed it, please give us 5 stars, thumbs up. I'd love to hear from you. If you do want to reach out to us, if there's a topic you'd like us to cover, we will do. But okay, we'll catch you later. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.